Laughter danced under the dark sky. Feet stomped dry leaves. 4 boys tiptoed through the graveyard, voices low but bold. Move, Jor, this place no dey bite. Old men dey fear this place, not me. Make we just go and come out, sharp, sharp. A tree creaked. Someone whistled. The tallest pointed to a crooked tombstone. That one, that's the one they call the restless one. Another spat on the ground. Who among you is a real man? Silence. No one moved. If you be man, go touch am. Stillness. 1 step forward, chest out. Touch. I go do more than touch. Watch me. He walked straight to the grave, unzipped and laughed. This is just dust. Make I give am water. The boys watched with wide eyes, holding their breath. He finished, shook himself, and danced in place. Nothing dey happen. See una face. Fear people. Then came the wind. Strong, cold, angry. Leaves flew, branches twisted. The earth made a soft, deep sound. What was that? Ed, did you see that? Something moved. A dark shape floated behind the boy. One screamed, "Run!" The boy turned. Nothing. You people dey mad. I see nothing. Una dey imagine things. He walked out laughing, swinging his arms. Let's come again tomorrow. Make I piss on another one. Later that night, the door clicked shut. He locked it himself. He dropped his shoes, turned on the lantern. He stopped. Muddy footprints. They came from the corner and ended near his bed. Who entered my room? No answer. He turned. From the darkness, a whisper. You have woken me. At 17, his voice carried louder than the market bell. He laughed at warnings, beat drums with his bare hands, and called himself the Lion of the Street. Boys followed him. Girls rolled their eyes. Elders shook their heads. Chuka no dey hear word. That one, his mouth too sharp. He stood in the village square and waved his arms. All these old stories. Nah, scare tactics. Nothing dey inside. Children giggled. Some elders hissed and walked away. At home, she watched him closely. The woman with silver beads and eyes that never blinked twice. Some things are better left alone, she said while grinding herbs. Graves are not for jokes, he scoffed. Auntie, this your juju work na play. She frowned. Her charms, salt, cowries, red string, started falling from where she hid them in his room. Something didn't want them there anymore. She wrapped a leaf in cloth and placed it under his bed. The next morning, the cloth had turned to ash. You won't mock death and go free, she whispered, her eyes clouded with fear. A boy sat by the doorway, quiet as shadow. He saw everything. He said little. When spirits moved, he noticed the wind shift. When birds flew the wrong way, he stopped and listened. Don't go there, please, he begged the night before. You believe that nonsense too? Came the loud reply. Fear go finish you one day. The small boy sighed. The big one laughed. Long ago, the priest of the village raised his staff before the children. Some spirits rest, some wait, and some walk. That was years ago, but the words came back, uninvited. Now the boy who laughed the loudest began to walk at night. He spoke to walls. He answered empty corners. He ate nothing. He smiled at the moon. What is he saying in his sleep? The woman asked. No one could answer, but at night she heard it. Strange names, old names, forgotten names. Food turned sour in his hands. Yam turned to water. Water turned to ash. Dogs growled when he passed. Goats screamed and kicked their ropes. Even birds stopped singing when he entered the compound. The women whispered at the stream, that boy has been marked. They crossed to the other path. Children ran past his gate, not stopping anymore. The quiet one now slept with a small gourd under his pillow. He watched the loud one with wide eyes. Pity sat in one eye, fear in the other. The goats screamed before they saw him. They leapt the fence without ropes or sticks. Chickens scattered, feathers flying, clucking mad. Even the family dog, old and blind in one eye, growled and backed into its kennel. Why are the goats running? No one had the answer, but when he stepped into the compound, silence fell. The air turned heavy. A full plate of steaming yams sat on the mat. The moment his hand reached for it, the food hissed. Dark liquid poured from the yam like rotten oil. The white turned black. The scent turned sour. Mama Nika gasped. That night, he woke with dirt under his nails. Bruises painted his arms in strange patterns. A scratch ran from his neck to his chest. He stared at his hands. They were shaking. She watched him from the doorway. You are not yourself, my son. She crushed bitter leaves with fire dust. She spat prayers into a red calabash. She circled the room, tying charms at each corner. The gourd burst open. Twice, she lit fire for cleansing. Both times the flame danced, then died. The wind in the room had no source. She stood still, then shouted, "Tell me the truth, Chuka." His mouth opened, but no sound came. I said, "Tell me." He dropped to his knees. I urinated on it. Silence. I thought it was just dust. The calabash slipped from her hand and shattered. That evening, they went to Baba Madhu. The priest sat with his hands locked, his face carved from stone. "Okonkwo," he said after a long silence. "Okonkwo, the oath breaker." His voice dropped like a stone in a river. He broke the sacred pact during the last war. He betrayed the warriors. He sold secrets to the enemy. The village punished him, stripped him of name and honor, buried him without rites. His grave was marked, but not sealed. Before he died, the priest continued, he swore, "Whoever mocks me shall walk my pain." Mama Neka clutched her wrapper tight. "You have stirred a restless curse." The boy who laughed now sat quiet, his eyes dark, his mouth dry. "This is bigger than us now," she whispered. Something inside him was no longer hiding. In the market square, he raised his hand and slapped Ndubuisi. The crowd gasped. The boy fell. His eyes wide, but his lips stayed shut. Later, Chuka didn't remember. "What slap? Why are you all looking at me like that?" His eyes looked like a deep well, hollow. His voice carried a weight that was not his. That night, the house grew cold. Mama Nika heard a voice rise from the inner room. "I told you I would return." It was not his voice. It was cracked, deep, bitter. It called names from the past, names buried in shame. She ran in. He was asleep, yet speaking. They tried to tie his legs, bind his hands. He growled like a beast. But by morning, the rope lay in pieces. The door hung open. He was gone. "Where is he?" Dubuisi pointed to the sand. Bare footprints, fresh ones, straight path, no turns, to the graveyard. They followed, one by one. The villagers stood behind the elders. The grave was open, Okonkwo's grave. The earth around it had been dug, scratched, disturbed, but no one dared to look inside. The grave is open, but he's not dead. The elders are summoned. Mama Neka dropped to her knees beside the open grave. Her voice cracked. He's inside. Baba Madhu, pale and silent, turned to Ndubuisi. "Call them. Call all the elders. Tonight, we face more than a ghost." The village bell rang before dawn. One by one, the old men arrived with walking sticks and weary eyes. The sacred circle was formed. 2. We must call the soul back. A ritual begins at dawn. Baba Madhu drew ancient signs in the sand, shapes passed down through blood, not books. Mama Neka crushed bitter leaves, poured goat blood into calabashes. Drums began to speak. The air turned thick. A wind that didn't move trees swirled. A cry from the earth. Chuka is found inside the grave. They began to dig, with hands, with hose, with fear. And then a sound, a giggle. Then a whisper, "I see you." The digging stopped. The elders stared. He was there, Chuka, buried under earth, his body stiff but his chest rising, smiling. 4. He's alive, but who is speaking? He opened his eyes slowly. "Ndubuisi," he whispered. Then without warning, a second voice broke through his mouth, deeper, older. "You took my sleep. Now you'll know what it means to wake the dead." His smile widened, but his eyes were empty. 5. You laughed at my rest. Okonkwo speaks through Chuka. "You danced on my bones," the voice growled. "You mocked my suffering. My betrayal wasn't mine alone." The elders backed away. Baba Madhu raised his staff. "You were punished for your sins, Okonkwo." "Were you not also silent while I burned?" the voice replied. 6. You cannot drive me out. The spirit refuses to leave. Baba Madhu began a binding chant. The ground trembled. Chuka's body arched. He screamed. Two voices layered over one another. His fingers clawed at the dirt. The earth cracked. Sand rose in a swirl. Thunder without rain. The sky responds. Lightning flashed, but the sky was clear. Thunder cracked like a whip. A wind, hot and sour, whipped through the graveyard. Then came silence, dead silence. 8. The serpent that should not be seen. A hiss, a slither. From behind the grave, a snake longer than a man and black as night emerged. It moved without rush, without fear. The drummers dropped their sticks. Elders screamed and stumbled backward. Mama Neka didn't move. Chuka lifts the sacred staff. Chuka reached out. His hands, his but not his, grabbed Baba Madhu's ritual staff. He rose to his feet, then slammed the staff into the earth. The snake coiled tighter. Shadows danced. 10. This is my revenge. Okonkwo declares war. I was betrayed by my blood. Okonkwo's voice boomed through Chuka's chest. You buried me with shame. Now I bury your peace. His mouth foamed, his fingers bled. You will remember me. 11, Dubuisi steps forward. Amid the chaos, one figure stepped forward. Dubuisi, quiet, steady, holding a small woven charm Mama Neka once placed in his hand during a fevered night. He walked past the snake, past the wind, to his cousin. 12. What she taught me was not a joke. The chant, he whispered the first line. The charm warmed in his hand, he spoke louder. The snake hissed, recoiled. The wind shifted direction. Chuka's knees buckled. 13. The Battle of Voices. Leave him, Dubuisi shouted. You cannot. The spirit roared back. Chuka screamed. His mouth opened wider than it should. Two voices screamed through one throat. The ground cracked again, but Dubuisi didn't stop. He finished the chant. 14. The spirit weakens. The boy returns. Chuka's eyes rolled back, then forward. The smile vanished. He dropped the staff, fell like a tree cut at the root. Mama Neka rushed forward. She held his head. He's breathing. The snake was gone. The sky was still. 15. The grave seals itself. Without wind, without hands, without sound. The grave sealed itself. The earth folded in, smooth like it was never touched. A loud thump echoed. Then nothing. No voices, no snake, no wind. Only the sound of Chuka's shallow breath, and the silence of a curse returned to its bed. Where am I? Chuka opens his eyes. Light filtered through the thatched roof. The sound of birds, a breeze. Chuka blinked. He was lying on a mat, wrapped in a faded wrapper. His chest rose slow and weak. His voice cracked. Where am I? 2. You came back to us. Mama Neka weeps. She was by his side before he could sit up. Her hands on his face, warm and trembling. My son, you came back to us. Tears rolled freely. Chuka looked at her, confused. What happened? Mama Neka didn't answer. She just kissed his forehead and whispered, the ancestors showed mercy. 3. Chuka tries to stand. His ledged himself up. Pain hit his legs like fire. He groaned and nearly fell, but arms caught him. Dubuisi, you're not as strong as you used to boast, he said with a small smile. Chuka looked at him, quiet for a moment. Then he whispered, thank you, brother. Dubuisi nodded. Rest. We're not in the grave anymore. He doesn't remember. Baba Madhu nods gravely. By evening, Baba Madhu came. He sat in silence, staring into Chuka's eyes. Then he turned to Mama Neka. He doesn't remember. Mama Neka touched her heart. Let him forget. But the land remembers, Baba Madhu said, clutching his prayer beads tighter. Some graves are sealed by death, a warning to all. A day later, the village gathered beneath the Iroko tree. Baba Madhu stood tall, his staff in hand. He looked at every child, every parent. Some graves are sealed by death, he said, but others are sealed by vengeance. No one spoke. From that day, no child walked near the graveyard without trembling. 6. The boy who mocked becomes the boy who listens. Time passed. The sun rose and set, and Chuka changed. He no longer laughed at stories or insulted the old ways. He rose early, walked slowly, asked questions. He followed Mama Neka through the bush, gathering herbs. This leaf? He asked once. For fever, she replied. He nodded. Teach me more. 7. Dubuisi and Chuka laugh again. One morning, the two cousins fetched firewood together. Chuka slipped on a rock, and Dubuisi laughed, pointing. The grave didn't humble your clumsiness. Chuka grinned. Better the ground than what's under it. Their laughter echoed through the trees like birds returning after harmattan. 8. A new sign at the graveyard gate. At the edge of the village, where dry leaves whispered, Baba Madhu planted a wooden post. He painted it himself in red. Letters large and sharp, respect the dead or walk among them. Nobody dared remove it. On 9, he has changed. Villagers begin to whisper again. They still whispered about Chuka, but the tone had shifted. No more fear, no more side glances. Now they said, look how he walks behind Mama Neka. He greets the elders with 2 hands now. That boy has changed. And as the moon lit the village once more, a calm fell across the land. For now, the grave was sealed, and the lesson was learned. We forget, the dead do not, the narrator reflects. The voice of the storyteller returns, slow, steady, full of wind and age. In the land of the living, we forget, but the dead never forget. The screen fades to the image of the graveyard. Dry leaves swirl, silence stands like a soldier. 2. Tradition is not weakness, it is protection. Our elders did not create taboos for fun. They are not chains, they are shields, forged by those who touched fire, bled truth, and survived storms we now call myths. The camera shows old women tying red cloths on trees, children watching, wide-eyed. 3. Chuka returns to the grave alone. The grave is sealed. Dust still rests on the edges. Chuka walks toward it, slowly barefoot. He kneels. Hands shaking, he pours palm wine from a small calabash onto the ground. Then softly, with a voice broken like dry stick, "I'm sorry." The libation seeps into the earth. 4. Mocking the past invites its shadow into the present. The narrator's voice returns, deeper now. A joke today becomes a curse tomorrow. Mocking the past invites its shadow into the present. We see the village sign once more. Respect the dead or walk among them. Respect is not fear, it is wisdom. A new boy, a new whisper. A group of boys walk near the graveyard. One of them, bold-eyed and grinning, points. "I dare you to touch the sign," he says. He steps closer, wind blows, leaves crackle. A whisper rides the air. "I'm watching." The boy freezes, his eyes widen. He runs. His friends don't laugh. They run too. The screen fades to black. The wind dies down.